Dawn asks, uh, I think this is a direct message, but she asks, what part does forgiveness play in this pain journey? Forgiveness is fascinating because the opposite of it is holding on. So we've already discussed now what an effort it is for your nervous system to hold on to patterns. And forgiveness is releasing those patterns. It's saying, and everyone's personal process for forgiveness is different, but it's essentially, I see the pattern, I have compassion for as many sides as possible, and I'm just ready to release it. So forgiveness is the releasing of the patterns that are deeply held. It's probably the deepest level of healing, in that even people who have been on very long journeys, toward the end, even after they've healed their physical symptoms, they've healed emotions, forgiveness is sort of at the last edge. So it's sort of mastery level. It's a mastery level technique. And I think one of the reasons why that is, I've thought about why is that the mastery level technique? It's because we aren't taught how to forgive in our society or in our families of origin. It is just like compassion. We don't see it modeled often enough to really internalize it and understand what it means. So it's sort of like a foreign, like, oh, there's a worldview where this thing called forgiveness exists. What is this forgiveness thing? So it's so foreign that we have to study it and look at it. And what exactly is it? When does it happen? What does it feel like? What would it feel like to forgive someone? And what it is it's releasing what you're holding on to, but it's doing so in a compassionate way. So because what you're holding on to is often a pattern of, you did that to me, or I was hurt by you, it is being able to move beyond that me, you, victim, victimizer mindset. And if you were to take the victim, victimizer and shift your perception and look at it and say, okay, I felt this way. This person was trying to protect themselves and they expressed this. Neither of us are at fault. We were both doing what we felt we needed to do to protect ourselves. There's no real victim or victimizer anymore. Oh. And then it's much easier to forgive. When something really traumatic has been done to us, in that level of forgiving the perpetrator, that's something that brings forgiveness, and realizing that most people who perpetrate have been victims themselves. And this is something that's true for child abusers, for pedophiles, for people who molest others, for people who hit or are cruel to other people. If a person does something that is malicious, hostile, violates someone else's personal rights and sovereignty, that person learned that pattern from someplace else. And most likely they learned it whenever they were a young age and they were a victim themselves. And there are lots of stages where if there was something that was done to you that raped or abused, there's a process of following through all the anger that's important to go through. And potentially at the end of it, there's also seeing that that person who did it was a victim themselves. They were once a child that was innocent too, and they were hurt and cruelly treated as well. And that's why they did it. They learned it from someone else. I don't know who the pattern goes up to, like who was the first perpetrator. I don't know what that is, but it's always learned. And another version of that is whenever someone calls you a name, whenever someone criticizes you, they criticize you using words they've heard that have been told to them. If someone uses a term that was so deeply hurtful to you, it's likely because they were told the same thing by someone else. And again, they're just repeating what they learned. In that, if you look at different situations where people are talking out conflicts, the words that people use are so unique. You're a loser. You're a freak. There's some words that, if you have a different perspective, you'd never even think to use a word like that. You'd use other words. You'd use the words that you've heard used for people who are not demonstrating perfect behavior, lovable behavior, etc. So even whenever you look at how people criticize each other, those are also things, patterns that we learn. And so whenever you get a criticism, or you get someone who's putting something on you that doesn't belong to you, they're putting on their pain. And it's, even if they don't see it, it's a really honest expression of what they've suffered through. And they don't have the self-awareness. And a lot of times we don't have the self-awareness to realize that we're putting our pain onto other people. So again, there are lots of different ways that we can forgive others. So excellent point, Donna. So Sophie says, this is very useful and indeed motivational. I've just had back surgery and see the process as mind-body reset, but also very scary at the same time. Questions arise such as, will I succeed? Will I be able to break from over-awareness status? Will I be able to move without fear of pain? I think that, the fact that Sophie, that you're noticing these is the first excellent